President Museveni is also expected to give a forecast for the next financial year beginning July and peaking through his current tenure until its close in May 2026. Barely left with 2 years to mark 4 decades in power, President Museveni is going to exercise his state duty to deliver the State of Nation address and will be confronted with calibrating the economy, which is yet to rebound from the COVID-19 run and make it work for the majority of Ugandans who are grappling with rising commodity prices, disproportionate income inequalities, and draining savings. President Museveni's ambitious plans to boost Uganda's economy to 7% growth appears to have stalled. Economists now predict a stagnant economy hovering between 5.5% and 6% since before the COVID-19 pandemic. Economists argued that focusing solely on growth figures paints an incomplete picture. They believe that the true health of the economy lies in its tangible outcomes. These outcomes, they say, point to a struggling economy. Uganda's economic growth is failing to meet government's targets. Economics and legislators highlighted the need to move beyond rosy projections and address the real challenges faced by ordinary Ugandans. It is remembered that on Tuesday this week, members of opposition announced that they will not attend today's State of Nation address at Kororo.
Nedda kyanjawulo so tugamba nti nedda tetujja kuwerekera nga oyogera ku nsonga ezitaluma bannansi ate nga z'olina okubanga oyogerako.
But yesterday, the government chief whip, Honorable Hamson Obua, urged them to come and attend.
The Bible says, do unto others what you expect others to do unto you. Come, we go, listen. We have an opportunity to debate. Give your alternatives. Because the opposition is like a mirror. So if the mirror is not there, what will be their role? What will be their role? They must listen in order for them to give the alternatives. Now, if you don't listen and you want to give the alternative, how will the people of Uganda judge you? Let us take matters of governance. Let us take what the people of Uganda has entrusted us to do as something very, very fundamental. Let's give it the time. If you are not going to be at the State of the Nation's address, where will you be? That must be the question from the voters. We sent you to Parliament. The President was opening. The President was giving his vision. Where were you on that day? I don't think that is a good question for a member of Parliament duly elected to respond to his people. You should say, I was there. I listen. I am now waiting to debate, and wait for me when I debate that State of Nation address. Yes.
This State of Nation address will take place at Kororo Ceremonial Grounds in Kampala in the afternoon hours, and it will be live on Gntv. Gntv at 12.
Thank you, Desire, for that report. And all our viewers outside there, I ask you that you tune in at exactly 2 p.m. as our president will be addressing the nation. Now, in other news, Godfrey Chirumira, one of the prominent people in Uganda, has urged all Ugandans to toil and pay their taxes if they want the government of Uganda to plan better for them. He further says President Museveni should talk about taxes in Uganda ahead of his national address at Kololo Memorial Grounds in the afternoon. We take a look.
Aneze nawulira bulungi omukulembeze eggwanga yagamba penalties azijjeewo ezo zaavaawo kyekintu kyemwebazizza tiyatukwatiramu n'atugirawo penalties so manyi nti omukulembeze eggwanga yakyogerako era sisuubira nti nadda pozzi kubiriza abantu bonna mu ggwanga kyembadde nerabidde tusasule emisolo tuleke kudduka misolo gye batuwadde okusasula tugisasule eggwanga bwe tutasasula emisolo eggwanga tejja kukulaakulana naye nga tusabira mukulembeze n'abekikwatako gibeere mu misaamusaamu egitanyigiriza bantu naye buli ali gyali tumakinga sure tusasule emisolo ezogula I can advise you ezogula ku shares tuguza waggulu kati batusaliddeko ogula n'otereka mwezi bino byondudde nga nkola ngula n'entereka so I can advise you can invest any amount. Tebalina komo. Nobaguleze $1 million, nobaguleze $2 million. You okoma kusene meka.
The president ayogereko.
Yes. Neyanziza Bukedde okujja n'empayo kabaiti. Kyenali agadde president ayogereko enkyanga nga ayogerera eggwanga kusookera ddala. Nze nga akulira abasuubuzi mwetondera nti abaana baffe basiwukamu empisa nga bagenza okwogera ne pulezidenti. Ekyo si kya buntu tubale tubabuulirira nti banaye mugendanga omukulu w'eggwanga mwetoowazanga oli taata oli jjajja. Kyetwagala okumusaba ekonomi yaffe etukutte. Nze mbeera mubasuubuzi okuva wansi mpaka waggulu paka muba manufacturers. Tusanze ng'emirimu gitambula mpola. Nnaku zino ekonomi ekutte mu Uganda, ekonomi yaffe yadde etambula bulungi nga tusaba n'obuwombeefu atukwatiremuko ku misolo agende empola era tumwebaza n'ekyeyatukolera. Anajjawo zifayinizi ezaali zitukuba n'ebirala era n'ebirala. Abantu bye basaba, tusaba pulezidenti waffe omukulembeze w'eggwanga omulungi atunuulire ebirowoozo by'abantu, amanye nti ekitukwatako kikwata ku ggwanga lye ate ekitaffe tetulina leero tujja kuddukira. N'ekirala kya security ebadde eyitiridde naye ndaba bagenda bagikwata naye bongeremu abaana batwononeseeko empisa, abagenda bakuba abantu obuyondo, ababakuba tteke, abakola biki, ndaba babikolako naye bongeremu amaanyi. Twagaliza eggwanga lyaffe libe ddungi n'emisolo ne bajje bagenda okusoma ebeere ennungi, ebeere ng'onvu, ereke kunyigiriza abantu basobole okukola emirimu gye badde bakola bulijjo. Kubanga abantu abasinga ffe ababeeramu badde batandise okutya nti ekonomi etukutte. Naye tujja kuba twogeraganya n'omukulembeze w'eggwanga ne bekikwatako abali tekiniko nga tubabuulira ffe ng'abasuubuzi abaludde wano nga tukola tubabuulira ebizibu bye tuyina ate ebizibu by'abasuubuzi bannaffe tubakuŋŋaanyaamu ebibanyiga. Pulezidenti tukwagaliza kwogera obulungi, kwogera eri eggwanga okulungi n'okutulowoozaako nga bazzukulu bo, nga batabani bo, ng'abaana bo, ng'abasuubuzi bo, ng'abaana b'eggwanga. Twagaliza eggwanga lyaffe emirembe. For God and my country. Mwebale nnyo. Naye nze nawulira bulungi omukulembeze w'eggwanga yagamba penalties azigyeewo. Ezo zaavaawo kyekintu kye mwebazizza nti yatukwatiramu n'atugirawo penalties. So manyi nti omukulembeze w'eggwanga yakyogerako era sisuubira nti kinadda. Ozzi nkubiriza abantu bonna mu ggwanga gye mbadde neerabidde tusasule emisolo. Tuleke kudduka misolo gye batuwadde okusasula tugisasule. Eggwanga bwe tutasasula emisolo eggwanga tejja kukulaakulana. Naye nga tusabira mukulembeze n'abekikwatako gibeere mu misaamusaamu egitanyigiriza bantu. Naye buli ali gyali tumakinge sure tusasula emisolo.
Za Asimwe, GNTV, Atubandiize.
Thank you, Desire. Now, as we continue with our news this afternoon, the Bliss GVS Pharma Limited donated the antimalarial equipment to the government of Uganda, and these were received by the government officials. Dr. Jenruth Acheng thanked the Bliss Pharma GVS Pharma Limited for the generous hearts.
That our response to malaria is a whole of government response, and it is a multi-sectoral response. And so we are doing this together with the private sector, the civil society, the private not-for-profit, and government is in leadership. We have many people who are willing to support. And what you have seen today is an example of a private sector that has come up to say, yes, we are aware, because you have been reaching out to all of us that you have a malaria epidemic and there are other needs elsewhere. And so we want to appreciate Bliss GVS Pharma Limited for the very generous donation of antimalarials together with antibiotics and antifungals for our patients. And we will deploy this in a high volume area where we've been having lots of patients come with malaria on an outpatient basis. We want to deeply appreciate them, and also to call out to other private sector people who are willing to join us in this response to ensure.
I will start now. Okay, we are completely out of epidemics now. Our May and April data, the number of cases we have seen is actually less than the number of cases we saw in 2021 when the epidemic started. So we are out of epidemic, but that does not mean there is no malaria. We are now in the stable transmission. Test positivity rates are now at about 46% of people who come to, who have fever. When you test them, about 46% still turn positive. We are now focusing on malaria death reduction, because during 2023 and 2022, the deaths almost doubled. So cases we have succeeded, we are now working on death reduction. The other thing we are working on seriously right now is how to mitigate developing anti-malarial resistance. And our focus is early and complete treatment of malaria.
This is very good. Distinguished Minister of Health, Madam, and the doctor, and the co-workers, and my colleagues too, and one and all. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to donate to the people of Uganda. It's a great pleasure for me to be here and have an opportunity to give the things which is very useful for health and for development of health of our patients. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Wotunuulira ekigendererwa n'enteekateeka za gavumenti eziri mu minisitule y'ebyobulamu, tulinawo embeera y'okulwanyisa n'okulaba nti minisitule efuba nnyo okulaba nti egoba omusujja mu nsi oba mu Uganda mwonna. So mu ngeri eyo bwetyo, ffe nga aba Bliss GVS Pharmaceutical Company tusazeewo ne tugamba nti tubeere n'enkolagana ennungi okusobola oyambako gavumenti okugyawo embeera eyo bwetyo. Mu ddagala lye tuleese mulimu eddagala erijjanjaba omusujja omuntu waabeera nga bamuggyeko omusayi ne basanga nga alimu omusujja. Tulinamu eddagala eritandikirwako nga ministry z'ebyobulamu we zirambika bulungi mu Uganda Clinical Guideline, era nga eddagala eryo ye combination ya artemether and lumefantrine. Bwe tuba tuvudde awo mu ddagala lyerimu, mu mbeera ezimu eziba zisusse ez'omusujja, waliwo eddagala eryokubiri eriddako. Eddagala eryo eryokubiri oba leve eyokubiri eddako nga combination ya artemether lumefantrine tesobodde kukola, saawa zino guidelines zitugamba nti omulwadde tulina muteeka ku combination ya DP. DP ye dihydrotemicinin and piperacin phosphate, era mu ebyo eyo combination eri mu brand yaffe eya P-alaxin.
Za Asimwe, GNTV at 12.
Hospital Executive Director Dr. Rosemary Byanyuma has been faulted for not using the money given to the hospital in the last year's budget of 2023-2024. Mulago officials yesterday were before the Parliamentary Committee. The report.
You had the warrant of 106.4. You are able to utilize 103.57. You had 2,803,000 you did not utilize. And the monies, the monies that you did not utilize, table of underutilization, yes. For example, in human capital, 2.52 billion was boards, committees, and council allowances. Let first, Madam, explain why that money not feed them, and the money was swept back. I think that's critical.
Thank you, Chair. Last financial year was a unique one. Actually, most of this money was released in Q4, and that means we had only like 2 months. And some of these procurements would not have...
Let me just take you slow. This isn't for special meals. This is 132 million. I think, do you have a supplier?
A service provider.
A service provider?
Yes, we have framework contracts.
You contract this work?
Yes, framework contracts, and we make call-offs.
Yes. If you have a contractor during the financial year and you are warranted the money in the last quarter, why don't you effect payment to the contractor who has supplied you meals for the whole year?
You know, before we get money, it's also risky to commit these companies to supply because we are not getting enough money in the first, second, third quarter. So we are not sure. So when we got money in the last quarter, of course there are dry rations which they can supply.
First take us through your budget line. I don't know whether it is you or a planner. Is the planner here?
No.
What was the money allocated in the budget for meals and for welfare? No, for special meals and drinks. What was the budget? Planner, what's your budget line? In the budget now, I want in the budget.
Chair, in our budget we had 1.4 billion.
1.4 billion?
Yes, and that's what we were able to absorb up to that level. But Chair, also to add, that is at the end of the financial year when the system never cleared them off.
You committed this. It was committed funds.
You think these were committed funds that were swept back?
Some were swept back.
What is some?
This is the story.
Chair,
because I'll ask you, because we've been at audit and we don't take a lot of time. The auditor, when did you audit this institution? Which month? When did you exit your last exit meeting?
On November.
It was around November. Now, for example, if you have committed funds up to September, and they were in a queue, they still pay. So we know how the system works. So don't take us that route, sir.
You cannot justify failure when you have a framework contract with your providers and you fail to buy meals for the patients. This is pure unacceptable, accounting officer.
This is about health. Okay? We give you to supply medicine, we avail the money. You a supplier. You don't supply. Will you retain the same? Will you be? We look into your contracts. You are killing people. Government has availed the small money you need. 600 is not small money, and 24 million. So can you give us those? Do you have the list of your medical staff and those that failed?
Okay, we can avail that list, but specialized medicines are a little bit special.
The whole of the 600 is specialized.
Yes. And when you make an order, some of those drugs, it's a long list. They may supply 90%, and whatever they fail, if they have not completed the whole invoice, we cannot pay. And sometimes if they want to supply and we see it's a short shelf life, we don't accept.
Za Asimwe. Gntv at 12.
As we come to the end of our today's bulletin, the Ugandan contingent has been flagged off to Rwanda for the field training organized as the East African Community. The 13th East African field training exercise scheduled for June in Rwanda aims to practice and perfect the United Nations Chapter 8 to enhance the regional security. We take a look.
Major General Francis Tachera, Deputy Commander Land Forces, flagged off Ugandan's contingent for the 13th East African Community Field Training Exercise, codenamed Ushirikiano Imara in Rwanda. The ceremony took place at the Non-Commissioned Officers Academy in Gotv Barracks, Jinja, where participants are undergoing pre-mission training.
bw'oba olaba ba pulezidenti baffe kye bakola balwanirira obumu bwa East Africa. So kati kino kimu ku mitendere gyetaagisa okulaba nti tutuuka ku ekyo, kubanga kati wano tugenda kukolera wamu ng'amawanga ga East African Community bwe mugamanyi, omuli Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, Somalia, DRC. So kati abo bonna bagenda kusindika amagye gaabwe gakolere wamu, kwegamba kibanguyira bwe baba bafunye ekyokukola awo bajja ng'ekitole. Sigamba nti ate ono amanye eby'Abanyarwanda bokka, ate ono amanye eby'Abasudaani. Ffenna tubeera kimu nga East African Community. Training eno ya
Major General Tachera urged the contingent to uphold the exercise's purpose of enhancing the capabilities of partner state armed forces, police, civilian components, and other stakeholders in jointly addressing complex security challenges in line with the East African Community Protocol on Cooperation in Defense Affairs.
Amasomo ag'omu nsiko oba kyetwandiise field exercise, lwakuba kati basooka ne basoma mu kirasi ng'abalala, then ne batuuka ku kye bayita command post exercise. So kati awo babeera ng'abali ku headquarter, abasirikale bali eyo bali mu operation zaabwe, kati ne balaga staff b'oku headquarter kye bakola. So kati bwe bayita mu ekyo bagenda ku kyaki ekya field abasirikale eyo gye babeera. Simanyi waliwo olutalo, kati emirimu gye bakola nga bali mu operation zaabwe za kisirikale, ng'ababaka baffe ebendera yaffe nga bwesiiba mu bbanga, nabo bwe batyo bateekwa kubeera n'empisa zaabwe. Buli kimu kye bakola bakirabire ku levo ya bendera, bamanye nti si yakussa wansi lwa mpisa, simanyi lwa butamanya, buli kimu bakiyiseemu. N'olwekyo bateekwa okumaintaininga empisa zaabwe eziraga nti bannayuganda bwe tutyo bwe tubeera.
Brigadier General Alex Orpot, Joint Staff Training and Doctrine, noted that the exercise reflects the East African Community's commitment to cooperation with African countries sharing common political, economic, social, and cultural values and interests.
Exercises are geared towards promotion and fostering of the East African integration. It also geared towards enhancing interoperability in joint planning and also in the conduct of operations. Sir, it is also geared towards practicing the East African Community standard operating procedures at the operational levels and also at tactical levels. As already stated, sir, by the contingent commander, this contingent of the strength of 243, comprising the Uganda People's Defense Forces, the Uganda Police, the Uganda Prisons, the staff from other ministries, staff from Internal Affairs, disaster preparedness and East African affairs have been here in Gotv barracks undergoing a pre-mission training for 7 days.
Brigadier General Fred Twinamasko, head of delegation and chief evaluator of the Ugandan contingent, stated that Uganda's participation aims to train partner states military, police, prisons and civilian components in peace support operations, disaster management, counter-piracy and counter-terrorism.
Uganda's participation in the 13th East African Community Armed Forces FTX is predicated upon a purpose and a theme. And in fulfillment of the purpose, the main objective of the FTX is to train partner states, armed forces, police, civilian component, and stakeholders in planning and conduct of an integrated mission encompassing 4 themes. 1, peace support operations, disaster management, counter-piracy, and counter-terrorism. So, in line with the main objective, the aim is to enhance our partner states' defense forces' capabilities in jointly combating complex security challenges in the region. Also, the field training exercise will be conducted in accordance with Article 2 of the East African Protocol on Cooperation Defense Affairs.
The 13th East African Field Training Exercise, scheduled for June in Rwanda, aims to practice and perfect the United Nations Chapter 80's enhancement for regional arrangements, involvement in maintaining international peace and security, providing a robust mechanism for resolving local disputes. Za Asimwe, Gntv, Atubandiize.
Thank you, Desire, for that report, and it brings us to the end of our today's bulletin. But before we wind up, let's first look back at our headlines.
In our today's top stories, the President of Uganda, His Excellency Dr. Museveni, is set to deliver his State of the Nation address today in the afternoon. Dr. Ruth Acheng has thanked and appreciated the Breeze GVS Pharma Limited for donating antimalarials to the government of Uganda.
And so we want to appreciate Bliss GVS Pharma Limited for the very generous donation of antimalarials.
Godfrey Chirumila has urged all Ugandans to pay their taxes as allotted by the government.
Kubiriza abantu bonna mu ggwanga kyembadde nerabidde tusasule emisolo tuleke kudduka misolo gye batuwadde okusasula tugisasule.
For this and more, stay tuned.
Dear viewers of Gntv, that's all we had for today, and thanks for being part of us from the time we started to the time we are coming to the end of our today's bulletin. I'm Allian Atubandiize, your favorite news anchor at Gntv, and up next is a lunch hour service at King of Kings Church. Please come and attend with our beloved Lord Bishop Dr. Silas Taiwa, and still don't go away, stay on Gntv for the upcoming programs, as also we wait for the national address from the President of Uganda as Gntv